Hello, everyone. Oh boy, I hope I don't regret this. So, just so you know, if you're tuning in for gameplay, it's going to be a little while because this is what I do on my channel. There are things I want to talk about and actually just discuss and speak my thoughts on certain things, especially before we start something. Before because we're about to go on a an adventure, a journey, a story, and there are things to talk about. Before we get started on that journey. But it's also because this is a rather rare and unique treat for probably for some of you if you're into this. Since this is not something I normally do on my channel, this is a very, very rare occurrence that I actually considered doing this. I'm still having second guesses about this up to this moment about whether or not I should even do this. But because of certain recent events, it's been on my mind. In fact, I just finished playing through this once again. So, if you can't tell in the background, this is Dead Space, the original 2008 release. I'm saying that because the remake was recently released at the end of January of 2023. And I don't have the remake yet, and I'll explain why in a bit. But first I should let you guys know, I'm not really into horror games. Not really. I don't like getting scared. It's not really something I enjoy, being scared. I feel like sometimes it can affect my ability to actually sleep at night, and I would prefer to actually... I have enough sleeping issues already. I have to take like a lot of melatonin just to try and get to sleep, and sometimes I don't get to sleep until like late at night, almost like when it's close to morning time. So, needless to say, then trying to add on really scary imagery in my mind as I'm trying to fall asleep doesn't really help. So, and let's just say there are also times where, depending on how far it goes, I'm not really all that, into very intense, gory, bloody violence. I find myself to actually have a pretty good stomach at this point now that I've gotten older, mainly because I feel like as I've gotten older, I've gotten a different perspective on these things. Looking at certain like horror movie games or franchises, like I can be able to look at certain things, especially depending on the time period, and just kind of like see it from a different perspective. Like if I see a classic horror movie, like either say Texas Chainsaw Massacre or Friday the 13th or Halloween, there are certain things I'm looking at and kind of paying attention to and observing and thinking about in terms of a behind the scenes perspective, rather than being all like tense and all like, oh, I'm so scared. That's it's one of the reasons why very specific certain franchises actually I find be a bit more appealing to me than others. Like, for example, Scream, I find actually to be kind of enjoyable because there's a lot of moments where you get to laugh. There's a lot of comedy in those. And I feel like that's a good thing, as it allows you to be able to just kind of break up the tension, which I think is necessary, especially for a lot of people. And because of that, it just adds to my entertainment and enjoyment, which, especially when it's also that kind of unique franchise where it actually is sort of poking not necessarily at itself, but also at the genre itself. But that's in the horror movie thing. In terms of horror games, let's get back to what we're really here for. I don't really like horror games that much because a lot of them resort to things that just kind of I either don't really want to experience myself. Like, I've never really been into the Resident Evil games. Like, I know it started a long time ago, and this was back when I was a youngster, and I would not have either wanted to play those games or would have been allowed to play those games, because there's no way my parents would have been like, yeah, here, play a scary game. No, my parents, especially if it also grossed them out, they wouldn't have wanted me to play that anyway. Now, of course, this wasn't, looking back on it, the idea of getting grossed out by the blood and the gore in, say, the original Resident Evil back in the day is kind of silly now. Although the remake did try to, let's just say some of the other later Resident Evil games did try to do that. But anyways, let's just say getting scared is not something that I particularly enjoy. And so when it comes to horror games, I don't really try to play that many. Like, there's been very, very few I've ever even considered playing. And yet, for some reason, I still don't even know how to actually explain it. I keep trying to figure out what it is. Dead Space is a franchise that seems to be an exception for me. I don't normally like scary games. And now some people argue whether or not this is even scary, because people get very uppity or even defensive, or attitude and elitist when it comes to what is scary. It's rather interesting seeing how people get when they argue about what is quote unquote scary and what isn't scary. And this is a series that has very much been subject to that by a lot of people. I'm one of those who enjoyed the third Dead Space game. And I know a lot of people absolutely hate it because they didn't think it was scary. I should say that I did not really play the co-op campaign. I played the entire game by myself, and I thought it was fine. But apparently people thought the very idea of adding a co-op campaign just removed the whole scary element entirely, which maybe it did for those who only played it co-op. Though I will say, for some of the co-op stuff, there's some good content there, some good stuff in terms of some of the co-op only missions, but no one cared about that because they thought it removed the element of being scared or feeling scared, and that's what people ultimately want from these. They don't care about how fun the game is, or whether or not the story is interesting, or whether or not you're invested in what's going on in the story, what's with the characters and the setting and the world itself. They don't care about that. They only care about if you are getting scared, or if other people get scared, because of course they like to show some of these to other people and try to see them get scared because they get some enjoyment out of watching someone else get scared. It's a very controversial topic, which is one of the reasons why I tend to not really go much into it, because people can get so intense and defensive when it comes to this topic. Like what I've just already said, I'm sure some people would vehemently disagree and argue with me about, and that's fine, but I tried to make the point that what you consider to be scary is not the holy grail, all-encompassing rule of what is scary and what is not. What is scary to somebody is going to not be scary to other people, and vice versa. It's a personal, subjective thing. What is considered scary doesn't apply to everybody. That's just how I've seen it. Like, I've seen some people that they will say, "Oh, this is so scary," and then someone will react to it and they'll be like, "What?" And they're like, "Aren't you scared?" And they're like, "No." "But it's scary." "Well, I don't find it scary." I've seen this with other people. Like, people will show the original Tim Curry It to some people, and what scared them in that movie, other people will actually find hilarious. I've seen people that they thought the scene with the dog in that thing was scary, and then other people just thought it was hilarious because it was, it was just a dog, like, on a human body, and it's just like, this is hysterical. Plus, Tim Curry is in it, so how can you find Tim Curry scary? He's Tim Curry. But some people get very defensive about this because it apparently scared them at some point in their life, and they get upset when other people don't find it scary because they're like, "But it scared me. Why isn't it scaring you?" Again, this is a very, debatable topic that maybe is more so for a stream setting than this right here. I'm just giving out my thoughts on this topic and subject since, before we really get into this. I told you this was just going to be me talking for a while. If you're interested in the gameplay, or if you're interested in watching someone play this on a hard difficulty, this is not the place for you. Feel free to go ahead and leave right now. I'm letting you guys know right now, we are doing a new Game Plus run on easy. We are not doing this on harder difficulties, even though I just unlocked Impossible. I just recently beat this, like going through this, experiencing this again while watching other people play the remake. which lets me, which let me try and see if I can answer some possible questions you guys may have. And if I leave any out, feel free to add questions in the comment section for me, such as, Neeks, why are you doing a playthrough of this and not the remake? Well, there's a couple of reasons for that. One is because right now I am currently in a not so great financial situation because of cut hours at work, and I have some payments I have to make. So let's just say buying a video game right now is not exactly the smartest or wisest choice to make as an adult right now. Even though I did recently finish my taxes and should be receiving a refund soon, it's just not here yet. And then I think when the refund gets here, that should put me in a better position to actually buy it. But then here comes the other issue. Even if I do buy it, let's say on the PC, because right now I believe the only way I could play this is either on PC or PlayStation 5. I still don't have a PlayStation 5. Now, you're probably going, what? Why not? Because, remember, there was a shortage during the pandemic where a lot of people just simply could not get it. It was just simply not available anywhere. And this was not just the PS5. This was applying to, like, everything tech and computer-wise. The reason I got my pre-built PC that I'm using here is because even people who are vehement enthusiasts when it comes to building your own PC were saying just get a pre-built because it's a buyer's market right now, because the parts to get to build your own are just simply not available. So I got my pre-built here, and I have been looking to acquire and upgrade my graphics card, which hopefully will fix some issues that I have been having and I'm trying to fix. But then here's, so this runs me into a dilemma. Either I would have to save up and get a PlayStation 5 and then try to figure out the whole, then I have to get everything set up and see, is it compatible with my current capture card? Is my current capture card able to work on a PlayStation 5? Where do I set it up on my TV here? And with the, all that stuff I had to figure out. Plus then buy it for the PS5. Or I could buy it on the PC, and based on what I've seen with the specs in comparison, I would meet the minimum spec requirements, but I do not meet the recommended requirements because this is a brand new game on only PC and PlayStation 5. It's not available on the PlayStation 4. If it was on the PlayStation 4, I would probably be able to actually have a better shot at actually showing it to you at better quality on that than I would on my PC. But, so whether, even if I got it, I probably wouldn't be able to show it to you guys at a decent quality compared to other channels that have better PC towers or PlayStation 5s. They've been able to do that, or they've been able to, get the invitation from other sites that they finally are invited to purchase a PlayStation 5, because some people are still on waiting lists for PS5, like a couple years later. They're still waiting to get on a list to be able to buy a PS5. And that's just the situation a lot of us are in, not just me. So, yeah. So, since I don't have the remake and I'm not able to play it right now, I figured, why don't we go ahead and visit the original that came out back in 2008 by Visceral Games, and kind of go through it while other people are playing the remake, just so people can be able to have something to kind of do. And there's plenty of comparison videos out there already. I've seen people doing comparisons showing the original compared to the remake. Let's see, I'm thinking about what else I want to talk about when it comes to this. If you ask, well, Neeks, if you don't like horror games, why is it Dead Space apparently is like an exception for you? And as I said earlier, I still don't really quite know what it is, other than just I feel as if because I have played all three games, I've gotten invested in the character of Isaac Clarke, the story that goes on. In fact, it was left on a cliffhanger at the end of the DLC at the third game, which to this day I was kind of disappointed that they never finished it. Not really. Because if that really was the ending of the story, man, that was a pretty terrible way to end the story, in my opinion. But anyways, if we ever get there, we'll get there. But also, I think I've also been impressed at the amount of extra material they did for this to really build upon and expand the world, the setting, and the lore of this, because it wasn't just a few games that came out, 1, 2, and 3. There was extra side games that came out, like Ignition and Extraction. There was even a couple of animated movies, and I think some books that came out. They really wanted to build upon and expand the story of what was going on here. I think this was also one of the first times that I experienced a game where it was... I know that God of War 2018 did the one-shot thing, but other than the tram rides in between the chapters, this game was one of the first times I got to experience what it was like playing through the entire game just from, the behind-the-shoulder camera shot of Isaac the entire game. And I think there's also this other element when it comes to horror games that I don't really enjoy compared to this one, which I felt like gave me what I wanted. I think I can handle horror games better if I feel like I'm playing someone who is in a position that can be able to adequately handle what is going on around them. I don't like the feeling of that people love, and I know some people love this feeling. I'm not trying to hate on it. I'm just saying that from a personal, subjective thing, this is not something that appeals to me. It's fine if it appeals to you. It doesn't appeal to me, so please don't be upset if I don't find this appealing for myself, okay? The survival horror thing of you are placed in a horrible place around with a bunch of horrible things trying to kill you with very, very few things on you, and you have to try and hunt these things down to try and help you stay alive long enough to be able to pull off what you can. And a lot of these things you just can't kill, you just have to manage what you've got and survive. And I don't really like that. I don't really enjoy it. I think that's why Resident Evil, especially those earlier ones, turned me off or made me not want to play those, or the Silent Hill ones, where it was just wandering around getting psychologically scared and such, which I don't really like at all. I don't like the feeling of being helpless or being weak in horrible situations like this. I like feeling as if I can be able to have the resources and tools I need to be able to deal with what's going on around me and make the situation better and help people out. And I think that's why this franchise kind of appeals to me in that regard. Being able to wear a full-on engineering armored suit with weapons and tools that can be used as weapons that can help take down and defeat the enemies around me. Like that is what is offered in this series. Whereas other horror game series don't necessarily offer that in the way I want it to. Like, I know that some other games, like in the Resident Evil, will be like, well, yeah, you get guns and such. Yeah, but it still just doesn't work for me or appeal for me, is, I guess, what I'm trying to really get at here. And I'm saying this, again, I'm trying not to upset or offend anyone who loves that. That's fine. You're more than free to love that. I'm not saying don't love that. I'm just saying it doesn't work for me or doesn't appeal to me. Don't be upset about that. It's fine for somebody to not like or enjoy something that you yourself like or enjoy. Is that really such a bad thing? To get so upset that somebody doesn't enjoy something that you enjoy? And I just see this all over the place. It's on the internet, and here we are on the internet. For goodness sakes, I'm on the internet right now doing this. But I hope you guys get what I'm trying to say, and, I guess what I'm also trying to get at is that if there is ever going to be a horror game franchise on this channel, this is going to be one of the only franchises to ever make its way on my channel, honestly, because it's really the only one I'm actually, a fan of. Like, honestly, like, when I heard they were remaking the original Dead Space, I was thinking, okay, when they say remake, what exactly do they mean? Do they mean just a technical HD remaster to make it like run better technically, or do they mean they're actually remaking the game? And if we get around to actually doing the remake on this channel, I guess I'll talk about this more when we get there, because I'll try and do like constant comparisons to this one. But based on what I've been seeing people, when people have been playing and streaming it, when they say they rebuilt that game from the ground up using the Frostbite engine, I'm like, wow, yeah, I believe them. Although it's funny, they say that's the Frostbite engine. I'm thinking, that's the same engine that you used to make Dragon Age Inquisition and Mass Effect Andromeda, right? And yet, right now, it looks much better than either of those games did. I know that it's, it's now years later and the technology and engine has probably grown and advanced. But my gosh, it makes me hope that they redo those games with the more up-to-date version of that engine, because, man, it looks really good. Of course, I am seeing it either on PS5 or really good PC towers, which I hope to get myself someday, but it's going to cost me some money. Of course, I'm also going to have to double check on compatibility in that regard, because it's still something I have yet to really learn. Speaking of which, you're probably going, wait, you're playing this version on the PC? Yeah, so let me let you guys know something right now. This version is not that great on the PC. This was very clearly intended for consoles. In fact, I think this was originally an Xbox 360 title, and then they just simply ported it over to both the PC and the PlayStation 3. Because I have played this franchise, all 3 games, in fact, the other side games as well, on the PlayStation 3, and have beaten them, all of them, on the PlayStation 3, multiple times, mind you. I got the majority of the trophies for this game on the PlayStation 3. The achievements on PC are no longer exist. They're not here. Not even whether this is the Origin version, by the way. I had this on my Origin library a long time ago. You can still buy it on Steam as well, but the achievements are just non-existent anymore. But I played and beat this game multiple times on the PlayStation 3. I did most of the trophies. I got all the trophies that had you get kills, multiple kills with each weapon. But I never did a run where I played and beat the game only with the plasma cutter. Except this time. So when I realized that, because I double-checked my trophy history on my PlayStation 4 to look at it, and sure enough, I had never done that. And I was just kind of shocked and disappointed myself, because I had all the other trophies for getting the kills with the Ripper and the contact beam and the force gun, all the weapon trophies, but I never beat the game with only the plasma cutter. So, for this run, before we do this playthrough, I decided I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm only going to use the plasma cutter. And it worked out just fine. It was great. If you ever want to do that, it's totally viable, because a fully upgraded plasma cutter will handle anything that this game throws at you. It is absolutely fantastic. It's a great weapon, and yeah, it was, and it was also very simple to just only have to carry plasma energy ammo compared to ammo for the other guns, which is what I used to do. Same thing with the other games, but we'll get to 2 and 3 some other day. That's not why we're here. Yeah. So anyways, this is pretty much just going to be a video of just me talking. I'm realizing that because we're already approaching half an hour, and I haven't even started the game yet. But I felt like I had to talk about this because, yeah, this is a, like I said, it's a rare treat. It's quite a rare occurrence, and I just felt the need I had to talk about this and explain my history with this. So just to reiterate again, just in case you missed that, this is not a first-time playthrough. This is not a blind playthrough. This is me having played through these games multiple times. I know the story very well, and I've even also seen the animated movies, which I will probably want to go ahead and share info about while we go through this. And because I beat the game and we're going to playing this on New Game Plus, other backstory logs have also been added. And I think I may have gotten every log that there was. I'm not entirely sure about that. But there are going to be things that, and tips and such that I will also want to go ahead and share with you guys. I'm not an expert player. I'm just kind of a knowledge veteran player. I'm just someone who's played and beaten this game multiple times. I have never played this game, though, on anything higher than, I think, maybe normal. Like, I am not someone who's going to play this on either hard or impossible difficulty. I know there are plenty of people that will. That's fine. If you want to go see that, you can go to some other channel. That's not what we are here for. That's not what's going on here. The reason why I wanted to go ahead and do this is because, one, it's on my mind, so I'm in the mood to play this because of the remake coming out, and lots of people are playing it, and it's got me excited, especially for when I eventually get my hands on the remake, which I don't have yet. So I'm in the mood to play some Dead Space, is what I'm saying. I've even been testing 2 and 3 as well. I even re-downloaded and made a save file of Mass Effect 3, not the Legendary Edition, the original version, just to unlock the N7 suit that you can get in Dead Space 3. Yeah. So, anyways. Yeah, there's a lot to talk about and unpack when it comes to this game and its franchise and its story. And especially when we start discussing the differences between this and the remake. Now, I'm not necessarily trying to give too much about the remake, because honestly what I was debating and thinking about in my mind was we would either play through the remake and I would discuss the differences between what was going on in the remake and what was going on here, and or play through this and talk about what's going to be going on in the remake, even though I haven't necessarily seen everything that the remake has to offer. I haven't experienced it myself. But also, before we cut this off and we start the actual game in the next part, I really do have to give a cautionary viewer discretion about this, okay? I want to let you guys know right now, this is a very mature series, as in it's very violent, it's very gory. There is a lot of very intense gore, bloody violence in this. Lots of disgusting stuff. It's hard for me to think of a horror game franchise that I think is more just disgusting to the point where it's going to make you want to vomit from some of the things you'll see in this franchise than any other horror game I can think of. I can't really think of another that tops this series. Like, for me, there is nothing I've seen in a horror franchise that tops the incredible, gross, gory violence that I see in this series. That's just my, when I hear that the developer got a lot of inspiration from John Carpenter's The Thing when they were making this, I believe him, because it very much comes across that way. And I've seen John Carpenter's The Thing. Ugh, is my reaction to that. Just ugh, gross. But that's what they were going for, and boy, did they nail it. Although I will say, this it's not going to be as detailed as you may think compared to, say, the remake, where you are going to notice and see, because, of course, more upgraded technology, more detail in the remake, but that will be for another day. Here, we're playing the 2008 original, which is going to be a little dated, but I will say this game has aged very well, except for the PC controls, which, let me go ahead and say right now, if you are going to play this on the PC, get the mod on the Nexus mod site that lets you improve the mouse, because, oh my gosh, the mouse in this game is horrible. When I say this was made for the 3 consoles and then ported to PC, I mean it, because what's funny is I don't remember having that many issues playing with the controller on the PlayStation 3 when I played through this multiple times. I definitely had an issue right off the bat immediately trying to play through this with a mouse. It's why I was immediately going okay, is there something I can do to fix this? Because it seemed like the mouse sensitivity option just wasn't doing it for me. And then I found a mod, and it's the most popular mod for this game on the Nexus Mod website, which is the Controls and Mouse Fix mod. It has a fix for the mouse, although you got to make sure you do it install it properly, especially on the Origin version. Otherwise, it's going to cause an issue. In fact, if it gets flagged as a virus by your protection software, whatever you got on your PC, it's not just, if it gets quarantined like it did for me, just restore it and it'll be fine. And it ended up working really well. It feels like the mouse is much better with this fix. The other was a control fix that allowed you to use the arrow keys instead of WASD for those of you who may be left-handed, because they disabled using the arrow keys for some reason. So if you're left-handed, get that fix so you can use the arrow keys. It'll help you out quite a bit. But yeah, this is a little rough on PC. In fact, like trying to find the right sensitivity for this was kind of a bit of a challenge, but I was able to find a decent spot where I was like, okay, the sensitivity for the mouse is now pretty good. I feel it's not perfect, but it's better than what it was before. It helped me out with one particular challenge in the game, which I was never able to pull off on the PlayStation 3 because the controls just were frustrating, especially when it came to the aiming because I was using a controller. And I came close to pulling it off on another challenge, just barely missed out on it. But yeah, I cannot emphasize enough. Get the mouse fix if you're going to play this on PC. Otherwise, if you still have a 360 or a PS3, you can go ahead and grab it, but it's probably more feasible for you to just simply grab it on the PC. But please get the mouse fix mod for this. It desperately needs it. Fortunately, the mouse isn't that bad on the second and third game, but again, that'll be for another day. So I have talked for half an hour about this topic and this franchise. So I'm going to go ahead and cut off here. When we come back, we will actually be starting Dead Space. And again, I highly caution you, if you have issues dealing with a lot of gore, a lot of bloody violence, if you have possible epilepsy issues, because even on this menu screen, there's been flashing lights and such, it can get kind of intense with some of the lights in this game. So I really, really caution you. This is a very mature game. There's lots of swearing. There's lots of very bloody, gory violence. I mean, if you enjoy that, hey, then you've come to the right place. But if that's something that really turns you off, that, you don't have a strong stomach, if you don't want to see that kind of stuff, then, yeah, you don't watch this playthrough. Do not watch this. There was even a advertising campaign that they did for this, where they would try and get players' moms to play the game, to see them react to the incredibly gory, bloody violence. And I cannot imagine them getting my own mother to do that. She does not handle that stuff well at all. And she would not do it. I'm actually a little concerned that she's going to find out that I'm doing this and look it up and is going to question or confront me about why I'm doing this on my channel. But it's a franchise that I actually enjoy the gameplay of and find myself just invested in the characters and the story. Like, it really did get me invested. Like, to the point where I bought Dead Space 3 the day it came out. And I was a little surprised at myself for that. But I really want to play it, and really want to see what they were going to do with the story. Now, that's a discussion topic for another day. Trust me on that. But, but I'm one of the rare people who actually doesn't dislike that game compared to other people who hate it. But anyways, we're going to go ahead and let's go ahead and cut this off. I think I talked about everything I wanted to talk about when it came to this. Again, if you have any other questions about this that I didn't answer, by all means, write them down in the comments. I'll see if I can answer them however best I can. All right? Stay tuned.